Longlegs is one of the most talked about indie horror films of the year, raking in almost $67 million at the box office against its less than $10 million budget after only about 3 weeks. Of course, you all have opinions. Some horror fans love it, and some horror fans absolutely hate it. Some say it's not even horror at all. I know exactly what was wrong with Longlegs and why audiences are so divided. Double Mumbo Jumbo. Let me explain. Welcome back, I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson, and this is a channel where we like to look at horror films and try and figure out what worked and what didn't work. Now, this is a video for people who've already watched Longlegs and were left scratching their heads, and if that's you, stick around. But if you haven't seen Longlegs yet and you don't want any spoilers, maybe save this video for later. You could subscribe so you don't forget about us, and then come right back here once you've seen it for yourself. Longlegs is the 4th film by writer-director Perkins. Now, I didn't see The Black Coat's Daughter or I Am the Pretty Thing. I am the pretty thing that lives in the house, but I did see 2020's Gretel and Hansel, and I have to say, I was not a fan. To me, Gretel and Hansel just looked like a lot of high contrast Instagram filters. I thought the movie was long, boring, and kind of pretentious, which consequently, these are the same complaints that most haters have about Longlegs. Now, I thought that Perkins was really able to rein in a lot of these rogue elements from his last film. The Longlegs cinematography from first-time DP Andre Aroki was fabulous. He used his previous music video experience to really hone in on the look I think Perkins was trying to get in Hansel and Gretel. The performances from Maika Monroe, Alicia Witt, and Blair Underwood were spot on. Nicolas Cage, of course, absolutely steals the show with his crazy portrayal of the serial killer Longlegs. And to be honest, I didn't think the movie was slow at all, because I was genuinely invested for the majority of the film, waiting to see where it was going. For me, the main problem of this movie is that it's an FBI procedural without the procedure. Perkins stated in an interview that he wanted Silence of the Lambs to be the entry point for his audience. He wanted to create something that felt comfortable and familiar to his audience, and then subvert their expectations. You know how much audiences love not having their expectations met. But what I mean by FBI procedural without the procedure is this. Remember in Red Dragon, the Silence of the Lamb prequel, when in the 3rd act, Edward Norton goes to the photo lab where the serial killer works, and they're describing to his coworkers exactly the person they're looking for?
Brown hair. Listen, please. This guy's very strong. He's possibly a bodybuilder. He might have some kind of facial disfigurement. He drives a van or a panel truck.
That sounds like Mr. D.
I love this scene because it's so simple, but it shows all of the investigative work done throughout the movie. The procedure allows the good guys to find the killer. However, in Longlegs, Harker's investigation really never pays off. In fact, she's not even a very good FBI agent, because not only does she not have the wherewithal to immediately shoot the satanic mind-controlling doll at the end, thus resulting in a near total party kill, but she also has to be given the cipher to Longlegs' Zodiac killer-esque cryptogram letters by Longlegs himself. Had he not given her the answer, Harker would have hit a dead end. And any other clues she found, it wasn't through her investigative prowess. Remember, it's her boss who tells her to investigate her mother. Any clue Harker finds seems to be through her sort of psychic abilities that are introduced at the beginning of the movie. And this is where we run into our first actual structural story problems. I've recently read Blake Snyder's book on screenwriting, Save the Cat, because many consider it to be the screenwriter's Bible. Throughout the book, Snyder lays out some absolute do's and don'ts of screenwriting. He says, I propose to you that for some reason, audiences will only accept one piece of magic per movie. It's the law. You cannot see aliens from outer space, land in a UFO, and then be bitten by a vampire and now be both aliens and undead. That, my friends, is double Mumbo Jumbo.
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Making Agent Lee Harker a psychic is just fine. Pretty cool, in fact, and a neat twist on this type of movie. But in making her psychic, the audience is introduced to a type of magic system. Think of the Force from Star Wars. Magic systems are supposed to have certain types of rules that are set up for the audience. And as long as the movie plays within those rules, the audience is willing to suspend their disbelief and overlook most logical or naturalistic inconsistencies within that magic system. But when you start piling on more magic without properly explaining or establishing how it all connects, your story starts to suffer and your audience gets confused. And a confused audience starts asking questions, and questions lead to disbelief. The first mystery of the film is Harker's psychic ability and the crime scene letters supposedly left by Longlegs. Because the crime scenes are so odd, with no sign of forced entry and the murders seemingly having been committed by the family's fathers, the audience is led to believe that Harker's psychic abilities could explain how Longlegs was able to perhaps control the fathers, and the deciphered letters might let us in on the rules of how these abilities work. But then in Act 2, Harker uncovers a life-size doll made to look like the original victim's daughter, complete with real human hair and one of those silver balls from the Phantasm movies? Okay, so now we're moving into double mumbo jumbo territory.
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Maybe even triple or quadruple mumbo jumbo. Why is there a doll with human hair? Isn't that more like voodoo instead of parapsychology?
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Longlegs looks like a whacked out glam rocker. Why is he making dolls?
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
How did he create a perfect silver sphere?
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Have we seen that in the satanic symbolism Harker's been studying?
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Is the brain sphere explained in Longlegs' cryptic writings? Oh, the letters never come back into play? Why include them at all then?
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
Hopefully you can see how when the audience starts asking too many questions, your magic starts to fall apart. Once the movie introduces the Satanism aspect, we have double mumbo jumbo. While supernatural and psychic powers seem similar enough, without proper explanation, they're actually two different magic systems. Throughout the film, the characters quote or refer to the Bible, God, and Satan. And while the biblical stories may make use of things like visions, prophecies, and various types of supernatural entities like angels and demons, it's not specifically linked to parapsychology. You see, one type of magic emanates from the spiritual or divine realm, while the other type of magic emanates from the mental realm. A person could feasibly believe in psychic powers because of its pseudoscientific nature, but not believe in God at all. As for the brain orb thing, I get that it holds some innate psychic ability because it was speaking to the lab technician, but it's hard for me to buy that it's a vessel for the devil since it's such a pristine and sterile looking metal ball rather than, say, like a medicine bag or some type of rustic phylactery. The fact it appears to be mechanically fabricated and gives off some type of measurable energy makes me feel more like it's from the realm of science fiction. But to be fair, from what I understand, if you go back and watch closely, you'll see the devil in various obscured forms throughout the movie. So it's not like the supernatural element just comes in out of nowhere. I do think Perkins did his due diligence in seeding all of the different themes and ideas in throughout the movie. I just don't think he necessarily has an appreciation for what makes magic systems work. For instance, he's made a film that leans heavily on the biblical character of Satan. He has his characters quote directly from the last book of the Bible and even goes so far to have Harker correct her superiors on the proper name of the book. Revelation, not revelations.
Not Leviosa.
But check out what Perkins has to say about his source material in this recent Longlegs promotional interview.
It uses religion, but not seriously. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that Longlegs uses religion, but not seriously. Like, I don't give a shit about the Bible. The Bible has really weird words in it. You know, the Bible has really like trippy word, like sentences in it.
I think it would be safe to say that to Perkins, whether his story is dealing with occultism, pseudoscience, voodoo, or the Bible proper, it's all mumbo jumbo to him. Just a series of trippy words and sentences. And here's the problem with Longlegs. It's a mad lib grab bag of striking concepts and symbolism that creates an endless mystery box of questions with no definitive answers. The internet is already filled with all sorts of fan theories as to what was going on in the film and what the ending actually implied.
So it doesn't matter that Ruby's doll has not been broken.
Not my problem.
Okay.
Now, I love movies that make me think afterward and leave enough unanswered questions to spark thought-provoking discussion. But if there are no actual answers, then there's no meaning. It's just nonsense. It's double mumbo jumbo.
Double Mumbo Jumbo.
And I think this is really odd for someone who wanted to evoke such a meaning-rich film like Silence of the Lambs. I'm sure that Thomas Harris, the creator of Hannibal Lecter, and the other writers throughout the film series have an interest in serial killer psychology. Those movies don't treat psychology like Mumbo Jumbo, and they do their due diligence to understand it. So Oz, for your next project, if you need a consultant to make sure your Mumbo Jumbo has the connective tissue of meaning and it doesn't get too convoluted, give me a call. I'll build you a solid magic system, and I work for cheap. But I honestly can't fault Oz Perkins too much because he's clearly stated Bob Dylan as a major influence for his films.
So if somebody wants to go find out about like where ideas come from and where inspiration comes from, for me, it's Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan. So I thought I'd put a Bob Dylan movie on.
You see, in music, it often works well to stick two or more seemingly unrelated but provocative concepts next to each other and let the listener find a personal meaning. This, however, doesn't usually go so good for mainstream movies, where audiences are used to being told stories with a specific type of formula and being led through meaning. So I have to admit that it's pretty cool that something so avant-garde in its approach to meaning and storytelling is doing so well at the box office. But what do I know? Am I missing a crucial piece of evidence that will put this entire movie together? Or was Longlegs just a completely overhyped and overrated film? Let me know in the comments, and check out our Compelled by Schlock podcast as we examine more bad movies with big ideas. Until next time, Schlock on.
Double Mumbo Jumbo. 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 Double.